Welcome to the latest installment of the Run to Daylight podcast. I'm your host, Todd Burrows, Todd from PA. At bestball NFL is my latest, even though it still says at Todd from PA on the screen. I made the change, and, you know, I'm not much of a braggart. I always found those kind of names a little too cute, but I really am digging it because I feel like I've done the work in bestball. And hopefully this will be the year where I get the big results in the tournaments. So today we've got Theo Gremminger at the OG Fantasy. He is a co-host of the GOAT District podcast, a hellacious drafter in his own mind. And we thought it would be fun to get together and do a draft together, a 125 FFPC best ball. This podcast is brought to you by our friends over at the FFPC. Theo, I love this tournament more than I've loved anything in fantasy football in a long time. FFPC is my core competency this year because of Underdog. Wasn't in Pennsylvania until recently. And I just love the way they set up this draft with two people from each league advancing and then three people from each division advancing for the first 3 weeks to the final 12. There's nothing more frustrating than to have a great week and to come in second place. That happened to me in the Scott Fish Bowl a couple of years ago in the semifinals. I lost out by 1.5 and only one team advanced. Are you loving and digging this best ball tournament as much as I am and the way it's set up?
So I think it's awesome. I think it's a great format, and yeah, I've done a couple of them. Not quite at where you and Billy Musi are at, but I'm adding some entries in, and I'm just a big fan of the slim best ball format that they offer, and I'm glad they chose to go in that direction with this tournament. It's great. You build some really interesting builds, and you don't have to worry about the kicker and the defense run. So I'm all about it. I think it's a great competition.
Yeah, I had hoped they went with 20 rounds, but the more that I do 18, the more I like it. So if you guys want to get into one of these drafts with Theo and I or Billy and I, I'm planning on doing about 75 or 80 of these. I've already got about 35 in the can. Go to myffpc.com. That's myffpc.com. Sign up today. Get in a draft. Say hello to me. I'll be glad to do that as well. And Theo, I think we're recording this instead of being live, but I'm still pretty new to StreamYard. So if we're live, hi everyone. If not, we'll upload it afterwards. We wanted to be able to talk freely and not worried about getting sniped. But I didn't post it on Twitter, so I don't think too many people will see it. So we're going to have the draft board here. Theo, one of the things that I like to do when I draft is I like to fill in the number of picks until our turn. So as soon as we're done, I kind of like putting in the names. And you and I agreed that we're going to go with Derrick Henry if Dalvin Cook doesn't fall here.
Yeah, and it looks like it's staring us in the face, and I think it's a great call. I think that you want exposure to the big dog in this tournament, and he gives us a really nice base, a high-volume running back. And you brought up an interesting point that his receiving volume could rise just slightly, but it would be enough to push him really to another monster season with the new offensive coordinator over there in Tennessee. So I like the pick. It's a little against the grain. We don't take Kelsey, we go Henry, but I love it.
I do too. So what I like to do now, just so we're all on the same page, I like to go position by position and fill in everyone that I would be willing to be happy with at the 210. So there is no quarterback that I would be happy there. So Kamara, Barkley, Elliott, Taylor, Eckler, Akers, Chubb, Gibson, Najee, Mixon, Jones, and Hilaire. I like Swift and Dobbins, but not Not in the second round, not the way ADP's been going. Wide receiver, Tyreek, Diggs, Hopkins, Adams, Ridley, and Metcalf. And tight end, Kittle, because Waller's already gone. So then what I do, 16 picks left, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So we've got enough guys, Theo, but is there anyone that I missed that you would be willing to take at the end of the second round?
No, I think that there's I think that Edwards-Helaire is a good cutoff, because I think that there's you're going to get enough exposure to Swift and Dobbins in the third round that you don't need to kind of push it there and bump their ADP up. I think you've got the right guys for us to consider.
All right, so let's wait until we haven't talked about this. So let's wait until we get a little closer. I'm okay with going wide receiver or running back here, because if we want, but I will tell you a guy that I do like very much, that I wouldn't like to get in the early third, if you're okay with it, is Michael Thomas.
Yeah, Michael Thomas is interesting this year. I'm into Michael Thomas. I think that he's going to have a great bounce back season. I'm not quite sure where the targets are going to be, but they're going to be, towards the top of the league, no matter who's the quarterback. He's clearly the alpha there, and I'm into Thomas, so I wouldn't mind some exposure to Thomas. Looks like we have 11 guys still on, and we're going to have most likely pick from one of these guys. Kittle goes.
Yep. And then what I'm going to do also, since we've already agreed to that, I'm going to put in a couple guys that I would be okay with for our next pick, because it is on the short turn. Oops, I hit Keenan by accident. I have Keenan slightly lower than I do have a drop off at MT. And honestly, I'm okay with Swift, but not Dobbins at 3-3. Would you agree?
Yeah, I prefer Dobbins in the end of the third round. When he's there for me at the 3-10, I like him more than early.
So we're going to get a pretty good idea.
Swift is interesting, though.
Oh, I love Swift this year. I mean, I think he is. Yeah, people love to throw around he might be Alvin Kamara. Swift is the one guy who could be like almost Alvin Kamara. So as we're looking at,
he's going to catch a ton of passes. So
1, 2, 3, we're 5 away. I'm not a big Cam Akers fan, but I'd have trouble passing at him at 210. I really like Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I really like Ridley. Is there anybody else that you really like that you're hoping makes it to 210?
So I would be okay. I'm with you. There's guys I like more than Akers, but if he's there at 210, I think that's a name we should take. Edwards-Helaire, I like him, and I would also consider DeAndre Hopkins. I think Hopkins is in for a smash season. It's year 2 in Arizona. Kyler is going to take a step forward. I think Hopkins for me is an option at the end of the second. But yeah, again,
we lost.
Akers goes.
Yeah. So Helaire, to me, what I think the missing piece for me with Helaire was but they really improved that offensive line, and he was so close with touchdowns last year. So Ridley went. So Hopkins and Helaire, and Hopkins went. So to me, this is pretty easy. Is there any name that you're looking at here that you would want more than Clyde Edwards-Helaire?
No, I think that we should go with Edwards-Helaire. I think he offers us upside, and it's our running back too. I like that pick a lot. I think we go with Edwards-Helaire.
Good. All right. Now we'll see what happens. But we've got 6 picks, and 1, 2, 3, 5, and now 4. So we are good. And this is one of the reasons I love the 3. Because it really means that, I have a teardrop after Michael Thomas and Swift. Not a big one, not as big as at the end of the third round, but I really enjoy the third spot. How about you, Theo?
Yeah, I like the 3 hole a lot. I agree with you. You get so much quality at the beginning of the third round. It's somewhat flat for me, and I think you get one of those top-notch players. So I'm with you. We're gonna have an interesting decision to make here, though.
Well, I mean, I'm lower on ownership on Thomas than I want to be right now, and I'm over on AJ Brown and Swift. You and I talked before the show about ways, and AJ, yeah. So I like Thomas more than Swift here, and we've got two running backs.
Yeah, I think we go with Thomas. I think you go with your initial gut there. Thomas offers us a clear wide receiver one, in my opinion, and I think it's fine value where we're getting him. Let's take him.
All right, so we're going to do that, and I couldn't be happier. We passed on Kelsey, but we got two alpha possible wide running backs, an alpha wide receiver, all of which all three of our guys have first round potential, and that's what I really want, Theo. I want my second round and third round players. I want to be able to tell myself a story that they're going to pay off first round value. So, all right. So now we have to look at the quarterback position and put Mahomes in for the next round, correct? If he's there in the end of the fourth, right? None of the other quarterbacks for me, but for you, would Josh Allen be someone you would put into the mix?
No, I would not want to take Josh Allen in the fourth. If he was in the the fifth, I'll consider him, but Mahomes is the only guy for me in the fourth.
So I go Swift, and I have Dobbins and Chris Carson and Miles Sanders as no-brainers. Let's see if we can get any further. Let's go through the other positions and see where we're at. So wide receiver, McLaurin, Lamb, Cooper, Woods, Evans, and tight end, Hawkinson, and Andrews. So that's 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we're not there. So we got to go back, and this is how I do it, Theo. All right, running back. Montgomery, Jacobs, and Etienne. How many of them would you be willing to do at 410?
I've taken Etienne in this range before, and I think Montgomery's certainly going to have a lot of volume. They're not my preferred pick, but I would queue each of them up.
Okay, and then let's go back to wide receiver. Julio, in or out?
I'm out on him.
Godwin, in the queue or out?
I'd probably consider.
Godwin, in or out?
Go ahead and throw Godwin in.
All right, so that's 11. Cup is out for me. DJ Moore, I could take DJ Moore here. How about you?
I could as well. I would move DJ over there.
And then Jamar Chase, in or out?
Us. I'm in on Jamar Chase. I would prefer DJ Moore to Jamar Chase. We had to make that decision.
I do too. And I don't see any – I'm not going to take Goddard or Fant there. I'm not going to take Josh Allen there. So that means we've got 10 names. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 to go. So we have accomplished our task. And then let's talk about 5-3. Would you put Josh Allen in, or Kyler or Lamar or Dak, any of them in for 5-3?
I would put Josh Allen in at the 5-3. Get us some exposure to Josh Allen. The other group of quarterbacks I kind of prefer in the 6th, hoping that one falls.
I agree, but this is for learning.
But I prefer Josh Allen.
Just because I ask you something doesn't mean I disagree. It means I want to know what you think. All right, so I think Josh Jacobs can be added for the 5-3.
I'm not huge into Jacobs, but yes, based on volume, I think you could throw him in there.
Mike Davis,
I don't really have
any of the other guys?
No,
any
not
of these
for me.
Other running backs? Not for you.
No,
okay. And I'm okay with that too. I typically don't do that. Let's go back to wide receiver. Now we got to look again at Cooper Kupp, Tyler Lockett, Thielen, Deontay Higgins, Ayuk, any of those guys that you want to throw in the queue.
I don't mind Tyler Lockett there. I think Tyler Lockett, he was wide receiver 8 last year. This format, I can handle the lower weeks with the smash weeks. And I think that he could be a little bit more consistent this year. That offense kind of went in a tailspin to end the season. And I think people have a sour taste in their mouth on him. He was paid, and I think he's a very talented player.
All right, so we are one name short for 5-3, but Dak Prescott just went. So now we are 10-10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we are going to be good, Theo. I really like Mike Evans here, and I really like Miles Sanders here. After that, it gets kind of dicey, but I would lean, this something that I talked to you about is all things being equal. I like to be even between my running backs and the wide receivers. So since we have 2 running backs and 1 wide receiver, if Miles Sanders isn't there, I would prefer to go wide receiver.
Yeah, I might go DJ Moore here if we have to make that decision. I'm hoping, like you, that we get Sanders or Evans, and I would prefer Evans.
And I agree. I'm starting to have a lot of DJ Moore, but I really like DJ Moore. So Mike Evans just went. So we're looking at Sanders or DJ Moore here, and really I'm okay with either because again, I don't mind being. I all things being equal, I like to be balanced. Well, guess what, Theo?
Well, we're going to go with we got Miles Sanders there. So,
oh my gosh, that is such good value.
That's fantastic,
dude. I love this team so far.
Yeah, me too. I mean, we're looking very strong at running back, and we still have wide receivers we like. I think we're in agreement here that we should be going wide receiver here at the 502 if DJ Moore. I'm okay with Chase or Lockett.
I'm taking ETN out. I'm taking ETN out because he to me is a luxury item, and we don't need the luxury item with 3 running backs already. So I've got 3 names here, and I will. You said you would consider him. I will throw Julio in just in
Julio
case.
Here.
There we go. All right, so and we do have Derrick Henry. We do have Derrick Henry, so that is a little interesting. I mean, what are your? I don't mind
exposure to a non.
Well, my thought
non AJ Brown Titans build.
Yeah. What do you think about that? I also like Jamar. You don't see Jamar Chase at 5'3" too much anymore either.
No,
I'm gonna let you.
Jamar
pick
Chase
here.
Is certainly a.
I'm going to let you pick, Theo, because I'm okay with DJ Moore, Jamar Chase, or Julio Jones. I'm okay with.
I think based on the we have a very nice build so far. I think we swing for the fences with Jamar Chase. I'm happy taking him here at the 503.
I love that. I was the one I was hoping you were going to pick. I think that
we have stability with Michael Thomas. You have such a nice floor play that we can really swing for the fences. And, I think that Chase, there might be some weeks where it's similar, volume to Boyd and Higgins in terms of targets. But I think you're going to see some absolute smash weeks where he's going to have the right coverage, and it's really going to help us in this format.
Yeah, I know the stat guys would push for Julio there. But in a tournament that wraps up in, weeks 14 through 17, I like having, as one of the tiebreakers I didn't talk about is I prefer youth to age, because the older a player is, the more likely he's going to break down at the end of the year.
Yeah, I think Julio could hit very well on points per game, but I think you could see him play 12 games, and he might not be a help to you at the end of the season.
All right, so Wilson and Herbert are my 2 guys but would you also consider Hurts at 6'10" or at 7'3"?
No, that's a little too early for me on Hurts.
Running back. All right, so Hunt is in Gaskin's in. Edmonds is in. What about Trey Sermon for you?
It's more of a swing for the fences. It would give us our running back 4. I like some exposure to Trey, but we're so strong at running back.
Well, let's put him in. Let's put him in for the second. You know, we've got 2 picks coming up, and it's gonna. I like James Robinson a lot, and so I'm gonna throw him in. Not that I want to take him. Like we said, we're pretty heavy at running back, and I'm also okay with Michael Carter by the end of by the end of 7-3. Would you be okay with Michael Carter at that point?
Yes, I actually took him in the fishbowl. I'm high on Carter. And based on our build,
go ahead.
I think based on our build, I mean, Carter to me is kind of like Sermon in a sense where have kind of an undefined role to start the season, but I think that they're both going to have their weeks and both eventually take over that backfield.
All right, so I put in a bunch of wide receivers, and I'm going to put in Fant. So we've got 14 names. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. We're only 1 away. So I don't feel the need to add anyone else at this point, especially with our first pick still not going. But I think Logan Thomas and Higbee would be guys we would consider with one of these picks. What about, I didn't put in Sutton, Schuster, or Anderson. Any of those 3 you'd be happy with by the end of 7-3?
I've taken Schuster in the beginning of the 7th, and it seems like he's an upside, reward guy. It kind of seems like you're drafting him at his floor. And I think he could, he was wide receiver 20 last year, and it's a big year for him. It's a 1-year contract essentially, and I could see him, kind of silencing the doubters. There's a lot of Claypool and Deontay Johnson people out there. I'm not, Juju on every team, but I don't dislike Juju being in the 7th at all.
Yeah, he's borderline for me, but I definitely can take him at 7-3. I don't have enough. And I really like Chase Claypool for best ball because they give him the ball near the goal line, and he just scratched the surface. And I feel like a lot of people always want to say, well, he wasn't in this many downs, but the Steelers are notorious for starting their wide receivers slow. So I think,
yeah, and
go ahead.
He's their deep threat and he's their red zone threat. He's going to get high calorie targets, and he's physically he's a DK Metcalf, and we saw what happened with Metcalf year 2. I think that all of the Steelers wide receivers being still kind of close to one another in terms of ADP, it kind of drives all 3 of their prices down. So there's something to be said with having exposure to them. Yeah, and like you said, this format, Claypool as our wide receiver 3 wouldn't be the worst thing in the world at all to have that kind of upside. But looks like we're coming around here, and we're gonna have an interesting decision to make.
Yeah, I'm not going to say anything until we get.
Fant should be somebody we consider.
What's that?
I would kind of like to get Fant if he falls here to the 6'10", based on how we both really like him and we view him as the last of a tier at the tight end spot.
He's my most owned player in this tournament at about 30%. So that's getting into the red area for me as far as. But I still got 30 or 40 drafts to do, so I'm not going to not take him just because of that. I do like Russell Wilson here. I would, based on my exposure, I'd rather have Russ than Fant. But if you want Fant, I will take him. It's not fair to you that we don't take him because I'm sitting on so much of him.
Yeah, and I don't think being at 30% of Fant is going to. I think that's one of those good 30%. You don't want to be overly exposed, but he's held talent, and everybody's kind of fighting themselves over Judy versus Sutton right now, and the answer might be Fant.
All right, so if Fant's not there, who out of this group would you want?
I'm okay with your Russ Wilson call. It locks up quarterback for us. At least with one of the guys we would have in our, top 7 or so quarterbacks. And I think that he's got, some upside this year. I would be okay with Russ as our backup.
Well, Fant made it.
But I say we go Fant. Yeah, let's do Fant. And then I think you might get Russ here coming around.
Yeah, I don't know that we're going to get Russ coming back, but Herbert is not a bad choice. Claypool and Juju are both excellent choices as well. And Logan Thomas just went.
No, I agree with you.
So, I mean, one more, and Mostert went. So we're going to get either Russ, Claypool, or Juju here. Gaskin just went.
It's a good.
Oh man,
I think hopefully we get Russ Wilson right here.
Yeah, and if not, Claypool is a no-brainer.
Yeah, I'm fine with Claypool here. Either one, Wilson or Claypool, I think we walk away being very happy with that.
Yeah. All right, come on, Russ. Yeah, because Russ is really Russ is a definite tier. Like Herbert's in the same tier. But I really prefer Russ to Herbert. And he fell.
All right, there we go. So easy. Russ Wilson, lock him up. Yep. And this build was looking pretty good right now.
Hey, I need to run out of here for about 5 to 15 seconds. Sure. You have access to the queue, correct?
Yeah, I'm on the queue now. I'll start loading it up for our next.
You start loading it up. All right.
Okay. So I am loading Robbie Anderson, Jerry Jeudy, Tyler Boyd. Tight end wise, I'm going to lay off until Todd gets back. Running back wise, I'm putting Damian Harrison. Wide receiver wise, I'm going to put in DJ Shark and Laviska Shenault. Put in Deebo Samuel, Michael Gallup, and I'll put in Antonio Brown.
All right, I'm back. I don't know why, but I clicked on. What the hell?
Yeah, I loaded a couple extra names in there.
No, I'm trying. I just have to get to my. All right, there we go. All right, so you've got 5 names in there.
No, I put extras. I don't know why it's not showing up in yours. I put.
I'm going to refresh.
Yeah.
All right, I see 8 names now.
Yep, that's what I have. I have 8 in there, so we've got to add a couple more.
All right, no worries. So let's go to quarterback. I'm going to put Hurts in. Not that we want him, but at 9-3, I certainly would consider him. Running back, I don't really want anybody.
No,
this is the dead zone.
Yeah, it's absolutely the dead zone. I put in Harris as the name I would consider. I'm not really into him, but he makes a little sense at that 8-9 turn area.
All right, so I put Curtis Samuel in.
I'm okay with Samuel.
Tight end, even though we have one. Yeah, there's nobody. Boy, this really is the dead zone.
Yeah, I'm glad we got Fant because it's tough. When you get to Gesicki, it's kind of tough. With these guys.
The guy we would have taken came back to us. Whenever that happens, it's a party in the fucking streets.
Yeah, you're running pure right now.
I'm going to throw Mike Williams in because I don't have any. I think I could put Will Fuller in. I could put Pittman in. Now, I don't love any of these guys, but again, it's the dead zone. And I'm not in on Michael Gallup there. But
so
I think
I don't mind. I don't mind Gallup. I don't mind him. I think that's kind of, if Dak would have played last year, I think that Gallup will be going a lot higher now in drafts. We've seen the talent. I think there's a chance that Dallas becomes a little bit more of a passing offense. But I'm not stopping my feet for Gallup, but I think he belongs with those names we have up on the board.
Okay, I just worry about the volume. He just wasn't getting it. When Dak was quarterback. So I could also throw Stafford in here. Michael Thomas, Jamar Chase. We need wide receivers, though. I really feel like we need to go wide receiver here. So I'll throw Marquis Brown in. I'll throw Cooks in. I don't really have Landry in that range, but I wouldn't mind Waddle. So
I don't mind Waddle.
So that gets us to 14 names, and let's see who makes it back.
Yeah. I mean, I'm of the opinion that going wide receiver right here is our best bet as well. We don't really like the running backs. Yeah.
Well, and we've got, and that's the beauty of getting Sanders as late as he's going, is now, I mean, I'm fine taking our last two wide running backs, pretty late.
No, I agree with you. There's no reason to force the issue here at all. And we do not want to be thin at wide receiver. I mean, people talk about how deep wideout is, but kind of after Waddle, it dries up a little bit. There's a couple of interesting names after Waddle, but none as intriguing as the guys you have listed.
Yep. And when you look at Chase and Thomas, the profile, I would be okay with like an Antonio Brown or a Debo, and then mixing it with maybe a Will Fuller or a Waddle coming back, or a Marquise Brown. So you get that, and that's the thing, in the beginning of a draft, Theo, I'm looking for floor and ceiling. And one of the things that I like to do when once you can't get both, I like mixing them. So, you get like a Fuller or a Waddle who has a high upside, maybe with the second pick, and the first pick you take somebody who has, like, if Tyler Boyd makes it, and we've got Chase.
Tyler Boyd would be ideal. Would set up a nice little potential stack for us with Chase.
And then my second choice would be Debo. My third choice would be Antonio Brown.
I'm okay with all those guys. Tyler goes. So you said your second choice would be Debo. I like him as well. I think if he's here at this next pick, we should take Debo.
I'm getting in an unhealthy amount of Debo too. But again, when you're in a draft and you see a guy at 8-10 who you have a grade of a seventh round grade on, it's really hard to pass on him.
Yeah, I mean, Debo's a terrific talent, and I think that he's getting pushed down a little bit because we saw Brandon Ayuk flash so hard last year. So Jamal Williams goes. So we're sitting here with
I don't get that at all. I don't get Jamal Williams.
I think it's
I don't get Jamal Williams in the 11th round. Never mind in the 8th. All right. So I mean, we are running pretty pure, my friend.
Absolutely. So we got Debo. I will say if at the 903, I would not mind some DJ Shark in the 9th round. I think that's a little late for him. But I like Antonio Brown as well. I don't dislike Curtis Samuel at the 903 either. But DJ Shark, he's gone anyway. So I have no Shark because I don't think they like him all that much in Jacksonville. I've got more of a ninth round. I've got a mid 9th round grade on him. So but he's gone. Well, Antonio Brown made it, buddy. So let's take Antonio Brown, and that's a hell of a wide receiver 4 right there.
I love that. I am so happy.
Great. That's really terrific.
All right, so I'm going to go back to quarterback. And really, Aaron Rodgers is the only QB. With us taking Russ early, I think Rodgers at 10-10 is criminal. Other than that, I don't feel the need to take another quarterback yet. That's one of the advantages of so I think once you get to 10, 10, 11, I think James Conner's in play. Gordon's in play. I don't like him, but Ronald Jones, Gus Edwards. I'm a
Dillon.
big AJ. I'm a big AJ Dillon guy.
Yeah, I'm with you on Dillon.
All right, good. And I love Naheem Hines.
Yeah, I like Hines, especially in this format. I think that those satellite backs can be very, very useful in this sort of format. You don't have to worry about it.
I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
No, go ahead.
And he's got a pass game catching floor, right?
Absolutely,
so
absolutely.
he can get you 10. He can be in your roster every week of the season, and then you come back and he. I'm going to put Hardman, Gage, and Mooney in. I don't have Elijah Moore, Parker, Ruggs, or Marvin Jones in that next group.
I would consider Elijah Moore. That would be the only name I would add in there that you don't have. But I'm not stopping my feet for him. I have a good amount of him.
But that's why I like to do things like this, Theo. So you get put onto people that you normally wouldn't take. So he's in.
Okay, great.
All right, so that's 17 names. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and 16. But when you get this late, I'm not really concerned about being one name short, because most likely, like we saw with in the 5th and 4th round, people were reaching for guys we didn't have on our list. Yeah. I am pretty sure that there's going to be, oh, wow, A.J. Dillon went 9-10. I love A.J. Dillon. I just think that, I don't know how you take Jamal Williams over A.J. Dillon. They've got the same basic role, and Dillon has so much more upside.
Yeah, I mean, Dillon flashed. Dillon has the draft capital, and they let Jamal Williams go. If anything happens to Jones, Dillon's the league winner. I mean, he could be very, very effective if he's getting a lot of touches. It'd be interesting to see if they would target him if Jones was out, and I think they would. I don't think he looks bad catching the football, and I think that's kind of his knock is that he's not a receiver, but I think he can do it. They just didn't do it at Boston College.
Yeah, I think he's not – I wouldn't say he's a natural pass catcher, but when I watched his tape, I think he's adequate. For a big guy like he reminds me of Derrick Henry when it comes to pass catching. Derrick Henry never looks all that comfortable catching a pass, but you almost never see him drop one. And then once he catches it, he can take it to the house. So I like that, and I like and Jarvis Landry was another guy who I missed that I put in. So we should have enough guys here. I know a lot of people like Gus and the one guy that if he makes it that I don't have a lot of, but he just keeps dropping, is Melvin Gordon. At 10-10, Melvin Gordon, I think, is a pretty good pick.
Yeah, I don't hate it. I mean, several things could happen with Melgo. He could have an early season role. He could have the pass catching role. And this is assuming Javonte gets a really large role in that offense, like the beat reporters are guessing. There's also the offhand chance, Dan Williamson on Goat District always brings it up, that Melgo's traded or cut, and he could be the kind of guy to go ruin a backfield and get, be the number one running back on some team that, we're not thinking about, like a Miami or an Atlanta. He could just go in and ruin the show. So there's a lot of outs for Melgo to return value.
Yep, and Darrell Henderson just went who was not on our list.
Yep.
So we should be good for 2 picks here. I just want to make sure that we didn't miss anyone.
Sure.
Gesicki, Ingram, Brown, Landry, Jones, Tunyon. We didn't have Tunyon in there. I don't think we need him at this point, but he should go on the list.
I'm not a huge Tunyon guy, but you're right. And Gerald Everett, we should get queued up just for.
I was just going to do it. If you look, my mouse was right there.
That's great. Yeah, because I think we're on the same page. I like Everett, and also the correlation with Russ would be very nice in this format.
To me, though, if Aaron Rodgers somehow makes it to 10-10, I mean, that's just – I know we've got a good quarterback already, but, boy, it's really hard for me to pass on Aaron Rodgers at 10-10. Let's look at let's look at Reese's Puffs and 3X. Reese's doesn't have a quarterback, and 3X has one, so he ain't making it back to us.
Yeah, I have it open right here.
Now, I could go Marquis Brown or I could go Aaron Rodgers. We went back-to-back wide receivers. I find it hard to pass on Aaron Rodgers here.
Yeah,
but if you want Brown, go ahead.
No, I'm okay with Rodgers. I think he just presents tremendous value at this point in the draft. I'm okay taking Aaron Rodgers. I think we take him and lock it up. Get our second quarterback, and with one that could be a top 3 quarterback if he plays.
Yep. And then for the sake of balance, if Hines makes it, well, I can't pass on Marquis Brown if he makes it back.
I think you have the two top names are the ones we want to focus on. It would be ideal if Brown and Hines are both there for us. It's kind of like you said, it's a ceiling and a floor right in front of you. Brown gives you the boom weeks, and Hines gives you that weekly floor. So I think that those two names we should focus on and hope one of them is there.
Wow, Everett went early.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's been going earlier and earlier. I don't mind losing him or Jarwin.
I don't like that one.
And Madison, oh my gosh.
Yeah, this is some rough drafting right here, but it's leaving us our 2 guys.
Dude, you and I hate when people say that they think they just drafted the winning team, but I think we drafted a winning team so far.
Yeah, I think this team is looking certainly like one of the best teams in this league for sure. So Mecole goes. So this is a hard decision, but I think that we have to swing for the fences and go Brown. I know we're stacked at wide receiver, but he's entering year 3. He's the number 1 target there at the wide receiver spot. Unless you really want to go Hines. Then
I agree with you. I one thing I like to do is, and I'm just going to take Brown.
Yeah, let's do it.
So that we don't hold up the draft. But I'm going to go over real quick and look at the ADP board, which you guys aren't going to see it, but I always have that and my exposure open. Marquis Brown, over the last 5 days, has an ADP in this tournament of 9.5.
Yeah, so we got him in great value. And you look at the wide receivers next to him, Ruggs and Hardman, you're kind of hoping. With Brown, we've seen it before. I mean, last year the guy was a 5th-round pick in September. And, he didn't meet expectations, but he certainly ended the season well.
Hold on. I took a picture of Billy calling me. Hold on one sec. Yeah, I mean, that's just a no-brainer. And, as much as I like Hines, there are other similar running backs who we're going to have an opportunity at later. Not quite the ability, but very, very good. So we don't need a quarterback. We can't even put them into the queue. I think Kenyon Drake, Latavius Murray. Yep. I am not on Singletary or McKissick. I could see going Bernard. I could see going Lindsey. Could see going Penny. I could see going James White. And I could see going Darrington Evans. Singletary, McKissick, either or Tarek Cohen, any of them you want to add here?
No, I'm not going to have any Cohen. I don't. I'm having a little more in redraft. I'm more on Damian Williams late than considering Cohen. I'm just not seeing it this year. He's not for me.
Do you like Rondell Moore?
I do. I think Rondell Moore is going to be a thing. I think they're going to manufacture touches for him. And with him as our wide receiver 5, we could deal with a slow start. I think he could have a great finish.
Raygor, Bateman, and Gabe Davis. Which ones do you want in?
I mean, I think all 3 would be fair value at the 12-10 and the 13-03. I'm okay with all of those guys. And then tight end wise, I put Hunter Henry in.
Oh, absolutely. And Cook, and I would put Ertz in too.
Yeah, I'll put Ertz in.
Yep, not Hooper, not Ebron, not Hurst. And I think we need to come out of this. I hate to say it, but I think we need to come out of these next two picks with a running back and a tight end.
Yeah, structurally, it would make the most sense.
Unless something value-wise just beats us in the head.
Yeah, I like how you have Darrington Evans queued up, I had success last year in the Pros versus Joes with Jonathan Taylor and Hines together. I think that it's a chance that Evans becomes a thing, and he might be a useful piece. And I'm not afraid to draft him, even though we have Henry. And I know
it's not a handcuff.
Yeah, it's a separate position.
It's taking a guy who has standalone value, who just happens to be on the same team as your number one running back.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to put it. And they had Evans working with the wide receivers before Julio Jones got there. So I think they want to get the ball in his hands. People are starting to get wise to Evans this year. Last year, people were taking him in like the 15th round of football guys and feeling like they got this great zero RB candidate. And then he has basically a lost season, and people are finally starting to kind of remind themselves that it's the handcuff to own there. And like you said, a potential standalone value guy.
They brought in an offensive coordinator who is really, has a history of throwing to backs. And that's why the smart kids are on him. I wasn't. And, when it's really hard when the smart kids are on guys, because it could be Miles Sanders and CEH from last year in the first round. And you're like, no, I'm not. Fuck no. I don't see that. I don't care if the smart kids are on them. I don't see it. Right. But sometimes you're like, oh, yeah. And it's hard to make a choice, but you have to. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I think you hit the nail on the head. I think a lot of things that hurts drafters is kind of the recency bias, and I think you don't see that at the top of the upper levels of high stakes fantasy where some of the sharpest guys are. It doesn't matter what the guy did last year. It's a new situation, and a lot of times the guys that failed last year become values this year ADP wise. So I think you hit the nail on the head with that.
All right, and we're losing all the tight ends, and that was the risk of taking Brown, but I don't care.
Yeah, I don't care either. We'll have to make up at tight end here. We could push the envelope.
This is some tight end run.
Yeah,
but it's okay. I don't love anyone who's left, and I'm not going to drop a tier. I think we're going to have to take 3 tight ends now. But I'm perfectly content to take Latavius Murray if he makes it.
No, I love Lat Murray, and Lat Murray in the 12th is stupid. I mean, a couple of the guys that win the 9th this draft, I would not take over Lat Murray. So,
and Landry, if Landry was there, I wouldn't have taken him, but that would have been sick value too.
Agreed. I think if Lat Murray's here, I think we take him.
Yeah, and if not, I think. Corey Davis sitting there.
Corey Davis is a good value. Marvin Jones, who I'm sure you have a ton of exposure to now, drafting with Billy.
No, I don't. I keep resisting him.
But I mean, here at the 12-10, 1303, it offers nice. Let's take Lat Murray. Lock that up.
Oh, absolutely. That's a no-brainer.
Okay, so we lock that up.
All right, now I'm going to put Ebron in. I think that Ebron is, but there's so many guys I like more than Ebron here.
It would be a structural pick if we took him at the 1303, but I don't think it's the worst bet. I don't hate it.
I'm going to have trouble passing on Corey Davis, though.
Yeah, I mean, Corey Davis, it's just great value here. I'm an Elijah Moore guy, but Corey Davis, could absolutely be the guy in New York this year. They gave him a big contract.
Did Elijah go?
Elijah already went. We had him queued up. Okay. He got drafted a while ago, I think.
I think we go Corey Davis and we YOLO tight end a little bit. I think this team is strong enough to survive with just Fant as long as he stays healthy.
Yeah, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with going a little late at tight end and going with Corey Davis. I think it's fine. Let's do it. Lock him up. Okay, so this team's coming together. Tight end wise, I think that Hurst should be queued. Obviously,
I
you have
agree.
Ebron. I like Hurst late. I think Hurst has been pushed way, way down because of Pitts, but they're going to be in two tight end a lot. They're going to use Pitts all over the field. And, Hurst, last year we were drafting him, very highly. They gave up a lot to get him, and I don't think he'll be forgotten. He could get a 10% target share or something like that. And be a real value.
I also threw Dan Arnold, who looks
That's
like
fine.
the starter in Carolina, if Ebron and Hurst are gone. So we've got some options there. And look, we walked into this. We knew when we took Aaron Rodgers early that it wasn't ideal other than from a value perspective. So basically what we're betting on here is that Rodgers and Wilson are going to put up so many points that it doesn't matter who our second and third tight ends are.
Yeah. We also think Fant can beat ADP and offer, he's going to finish as a tight end one more weeks than not. So we really kind of just need to piecemeal it together here at tight end. I'd like to get Hurst though if it comes back. I have him ahead of Arnold. I like how you queued up Paris Campbell right there. Paris Campbell's value right now.
Yeah. Any other name in here that you feel I should throw in? We really don't need a wide receiver. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 good ones. I'm okay with putting Brian Edwards in here. I'm okay with Crowder. I'm okay with Marshall. But why don't we wait and see because I really feel like we need to get running back and tight end here if some of the guys that are on the board are here.
Agreed. I don't think we need to concentrate on wide receiver right now. It would be hard to pass on Rondell Moore at the 14-10, though, for me. But, again, you're right. It should be a structural play right here. The Corey Davis pick kind of, solidified it for us.
Yeah, I feel like Rondell would be, if he made it to 14-10, we would hope he made it to 15-3. If Hurst is there, I think he's the pick.
I agree.
No matter what.
Hurst is a no-brainer for us if he's there at 14-10, especially with our build.
It's just frustrating that the one draft that, it's also part of the reason there is so much value is because people are overvaluing tight ends.
Yeah. I mean, all the tight ends kind of get pushed up with, in my opinion, it was Pitts that did it. So Pitts comes in and he gets pushed up and makes Hawkinson go a little higher. And then you have Andrews locked in there. Like you said, Dallas Goedert's going to be shooting way up. So all the tight ends are getting pushed up. And once that Fant goes, that next tier just gets pushed up and pushed up. So I think a lot of people are going to get caught, really forcing the issue at tight end in this format as well as the football guys.
Yeah, and every team has fragility. And I don't, maybe fragility isn't the right word. But this guy, I think at the end, what we're going to do is we'll review everyone else's team and we'll see if Perfect Storm Ryan's squad is sex or not. I personally don't know. I don't pay too much attention to what other people are doing other than how it might affect me. So he started with Barkley at 110, then Adams at 2-3, Mahomes at 3. Oh boy, Carson in the 4th, Ayuk in the 5th, Devonta. He took Troutman in the 7th.
Yeah, Troutman in the 7th is way too high for me.
His team is sex for us.
Yeah,
absolutely. Not for him.
No, not at all.
No,
not at all. We've been taking in a lot of value in this draft. It's kind of come together really nicely.
It's not collusion bad, but it's bad.
Yeah, it's bad. It's bad for sure. Devonta Smith in the 6th is interesting. I've seen him go extremely high like that in a number of these drafts, and then he drops to the 8th round in some football guys types drafts. So I think people are kind of all over the place on him, but that team is a little questionable.
Well, and what we're hoping right now is the secondary quarterback run goes. Mayfield, Jones, Ben, Derek Carr are all on the board, and teams are going to need quarterbacks. So that's going to play. Oh, there goes Rondell, which is good because it was so tempting. And then Daniel Jones. And my guess is you're going to see Baker. You might see Baker and Ben go before we pick. I don't know what teams have. I can go back to the draft.
No, I have
board.
the draft. I have the draft board here. Let's see. So Team 6 has 2. Team 5 has 2. Team 4 is going to need a quarterback.
Yeah. So we're gonna see probably one more go.
Nelson Aguilar is not bad value where they just got him in the 1407.
No, I got Billy onto him, and then I was on Jacoby Myers for a while. I think the point is, I think Kendrick Bourne is a reasonable guy to take late. One of these guys is going to have a good year.
Yeah, I agree.
And pay off ADP very handsomely. Aguilar is just great for best ball because he's so explosive. So is Kendrick Bourne too.
Yeah, I mean, Aguilar to me is probably the guy. They paid him the money, and here we go, Hurst, easy one.
Yep.
Okay, so we lock up Hurst. And
then I think if Evans makes it back, we take him. If not, we solidify tight end with Arnold. And I hate to pass on a Paris Campbell or even a Rashad Penny, but
no, I think that it's the correct move. Is going Arnold and then Evans. I'm okay with either of them, but Arnold at least gives us.
Well, I think Evans, if he makes it, it gives us, the fifth running back that we need anyway, and it gives I think Evans is the pick, and if he's gone, Arnold. Would you agree?
Yeah, I'm okay with that. I like Evans a lot, and I love the build.
I don't think the guy that we would take instead of Arnold, if he doesn't make it back, is going to be that much less than what Arnold is.
No,
so I think Evans makes way too much sense for this team. Damn, bro, we got a good team here.
Yeah, this team is very good. Tight end wise.
All right, so O.J. Howard, I'll throw in the queue. I'm okay with Dalton Schultz. I'm okay with Akins. Anybody else that you're okay with?
I don't hate Mo Alley Cox, but this will be a little early for him. I think there's a chance for him this year to just play more snaps. He was productive on a per snap. Yeah, I
think he's an 18th round guy. I think Traquan. I think Terrace Marshall.
I like Terrace Marshall an awful lot. Terrace Marshall I think he's a beast, and we're assuming rational coaching would be, DJ Moore takes on a lot of the Samuel targets. Anderson keeps the same amount of targets, but Terrace Marshall could potentially step into a real role if they keep it balanced with the wide receivers. And Dan Williamson on Go District is a huge fan of Terrace Marshall. That's his guy. He has him all over Dynasty. He's going to be a star. Dan Williamson. He loves Terrace Marshall. So that's one of his favorite players in this draft class.
I like Terrace Marshall. I was really on him early, and then I kind of got off him. But I like him. But you know who I'm really coming around on is A.J. Green. Good offense, and I know he looked terrible last year, but he didn't want to be in Cincinnati.
Yeah, and he looked terrible, but he still had over 100 targets, which is crazy. When you tell people that, they react like, what? He had a terrible percentage of the passes he caught, but he got 100 targets last year despite being around. We saw T. Higgins kept on the bench to start the year. He had Tyler Boyd around him. So there was options in Cincinnati, and A.J. Green still commanded that alpha, low alpha volume. So AJ, I don't think he's signing with Arizona unless he's going to at least take on the Larry Fitz role. So he's interesting. And like you said, it's a great offense, and I think Kyler Murray with a full preseason in year 3. I mean, he could take a real step forward as a passer, and maybe throw for a little bit more yards and touchdowns, and maybe take a step back on the rushing touchdowns. But I think that offense is going to hum. And AJ late is interesting. It's very interesting.
Yeah. I've been starting to add to my AJ. I didn't, and that's why you have to adjust as time goes on. But I started out very low on him, and I'm up over in this tournament. I'm up to 17% AJ Green. I just,
it's a nice bet.
I think it's hard, and he's not, he's going to get you 5 or 6 touchdowns if he's healthy. And, if he gives you this late, 5 or 6, 5 for 50 with the touchdowns, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, I think that when you get down to this point in the draft, for me with the wide receivers, I like to look at guys who can have those weeks. And AJ, of the guys you have on the board, is certainly, you can certainly paint a picture where AJ returns value at ADP and then some. And I wonder if he might rise up a little ADP wise at the end of the summer when it does look like his role is going to be solid and they talk him up a little bit. So I think you might be getting him at a slight discount this time of the year.
Yep.
Traquan is kind of an obvious one. I mean, he looks to me like the number 2 wide receiver there. We've seen him flash before. Ideally, we'll get Dan Arnold here on this next pick. Would you agree on that?
Too. No.
Yeah.
I almost took him at the last pick. If the Evans wasn't there, I would have taken him.
Yeah.
And then we have two picks we can look at correlating, or we could just look at straight value. I know you probably agree. You memorize who everyone's playing week 17 just in case you get there. Anyway.
Yeah, correlating with it's kind of difficult with Russ unless you want to take an Estridge stab.
By week 17 they play the Lions. That could be a high-scoring game. So you could take Perriman, you could take Tyrell Williams. That it's a correlation. Yeah, so it's one of those tiebreakers. I know off the top of my head. Well, Rodgers definitely. I'm a big fan of MVS.
Yeah, MVS always has those boom weeks with Rodgers. Yeah. He's a frustrating player, but he catches over. Over 40 yards. He's going to be. Yeah, and he catches over 40 yards. He was one of the leaders last year in the league. And I think, there's no reason he won't have the same role this year. Amari Rodgers is the only guy they brought in, so he's certainly not that.
Yeah, and you could also take Amari Rodgers. You could also take Lazard. A lot of times when I draft Aaron Rodgers, I take 2 of the 3. Yeah. And you're almost guaranteed if Rodgers plays. And again, one of the things people don't realize is your leverage on Aaron Rodgers not playing is all the teams that you don't have Aaron Rodgers on. So you don't want to double leverage. Your assumption in this team is that Aaron Rodgers is going to play. He is going to play for the Packers. So because of the fact that there's an issue with him not making it, is why we're seeing guys like Valdez-Scantling in the 16th, 17th, 18th round. Because if we knew Aaron Rodgers was playing, he'd be going a lot earlier.
Yeah, absolutely.
Darnold went. Not Arnold, but Darnold.
There you go. So we'll get our guy.
Arnold.
Okay, so we built tight end really nicely. Getting Arnold and Hurst, I think, was what we wanted, and it kind of fell to us. So now
I'm looking at MVS or Green for the next pick.
Yeah, we're already invested in Rodgers. I say we go with MVS. I think we just go with that.
I agree. And then the 18th round will put both Amari Rodgers and Alan Lazard in the queue. See what happens.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
And you can put Estridge in there too.
So Estridge, I believe he has some injury concerns right now. He's interesting though because he would be the burner. Kind of filling in a David Moore plus role.
And you would hope that he would be there with your 18th round pick, you don't need him right out of the gate.
No, you're right.
You want him. I'm going to take MVS.
Let's do it. Yeah, Eskridge would be like a second half darling kind of.
Correct. And yeah, so I'm going to put Eskridge in. I'm going to put Lazard in, and I'm going to put Amari Rodgers in, if I can find him.
Got to scroll down. There you go.
And then if they're all gone, well, John Brown. There's a lot of decent guys here.
Yeah, I mean, I think if they're all gone,
well, we
it means
talked
that
about
AJ's
the Lions,
there.
So Perriman, we can put Perriman in.
Yep.
We can put. I don't see Tyrell Williams. Did he go? There he is. We can put Christian Kirk in.
You had Kirk, I think.
Oh, we had him. Okay.
Yep.
All right. So I think we're going to have enough names with those 10. I'll throw my boy Pringle in just in case.
Yeah, I think one of those guys is definitely going to be there for us.
This was a lot of fun, buddy.
Yeah, this is awesome. This is awesome. Makes me want to draft with you again, Todd. We ran so pure.
Hey, whenever you want, you let me know.
No, I mean, man, this was great.
We don't have to podcast it. I think we have a natural. We're on a lot of the same players. We're on a lot of the same strategies, and I really am a big believer that two heads are better than one.
Yeah, I think that when you can talk it out, and sometimes you can talk through ties, it's very helpful. And when you hear the opposite side of the coin, I think it also really helps your process, especially this time of the year.
Yeah, I feel like some people don't like podcasting and drafting. I find that when I'm doing it with a good partner, I have an advantage. I feel like us, I mean, we didn't get bogged down in one. Well, I want him. No, I want him. And that's what I look for in a partner.
Yeah, I think that also the fact that we spoke beforehand, and when you know what pick you're going to pick at, and you can kind of come to a plan with the first round. If you've done enough of these drafts like we both have, it starts falling into place, and your plan comes into fruition. The only
it helps when almost every pick there's someone staring you in the face.
Yeah,
who's a no-brainer.
Yeah, it didn't hurt us. Our league mates did not hurt us this draft. Let's put it like that. So we the value came to us. So that was very, very appreciated.
I just hope I can figure out how to upload this because this is a good pod.
Yeah, this is good stuff. Yeah, I love our running backs. I love our wide receivers. Our quarterback, for a fragile, I like a 2-quarterback build like I know you do. And having a 2-quarterback build with Rodgers and Wilson, it doesn't really get much better than that. You're always playing to win the league in these sort of formats. Finishing with the fifth most points does nothing for us. So taking Rodgers where we got him was just awesome. And I love Wilson as well.
Get me as many teams as I can into the dance.
Yeah,
I'll worry about and we're correlating. We're doing all the things we can do to give ourselves the boost. But a perfect example here is going to be if AJ Green is here, along with Eskridge and Lazard and Rodgers or Perriman. I mean, to me, what you need to do is you need to weigh the value of that boost that you're looking for versus the value of the player that you're getting. And to me, I don't care if AJ Green's there. I don't care about correlations. Give me AJ Green in the 18th round over Amari Rodgers, Eskridge, or Lazard.
I completely agree with you. The last 3 guys you listed are kind of more of gut shots that we think have a reasonable path. But AJ has a role to start the season. He's a known role, and I think it's an easy one if he's there.
And I feel like Brian Edwards is another one who's looking like he's going to be a starter.
Yeah, Edwards. They certainly need him. It's a thin wide receiver room right now. I think people are kind of taking the shots on Ruggs, which is kind of funny because last year, if you remember how it went in August and September, the tide kind of turned and people were betting on Edwards. Edwards had some struggles, but Ruggs did as well. But Edwards really has that profile.
We lost Green.
So
yeah, but we, this is where I also, for people who are, this is where I'll look at bye weeks, and it doesn't matter. But I like Brian Edwards here more than any of the stacking guys, other than maybe Lazard.
Yeah, I think Edwards, of the pure talent you have on the board right now, Edwards is it. And a guy who could have the largest role of the guys you have on the board right now. I mean, Perryman should get his fair share of targets as well, but Edwards is entering into year 2. He has high draft capital.
Perryman has a lot more injury concern.
Absolutely.
And a quarterback who might not be able to get him the ball downfield. So I'm going to take Brian Edwards. I think we talked through all the reasons. And now we're going to go and we're going to review the draft board. I'm going to get that up. And let's see. All right, I'm going to make it like this so that as much as I'm sure everyone likes to look at my beautiful face and Theo's, I think we'll do this. So let's, why don't you take team 1, give your thoughts, break it down from both a player perspective and a roster construction perspective. Oh, let me fix this real quick. Hold on.
So team 1, the no-brainer, number 1, McCaffrey. I don't mind what they did with Metcalf, Jefferson at the 2-3 turn. I think it's not an uncommon 2-3 turn. Those guys go right about that range. I thought it was a little it's a little early for me with Goddard. They went, with Murray at the 501, which is not terrible for me. Mostert was too high for me. Gaskin, they had good value on Gaskin. Shark, I don't mind it in the 8th. So I kind of got away from him in this. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm going to interrupt. I don't feel like we have to go through every player, but just in general, I think this team is filled with reaches. They could buy the stock in the reach tooth company. McKissick and David Johnson. it's just littered with reaches.
It got away from them in the second half of the draft too. I think that Mostert started the Gaskin kind of offset Mostert, but like you said, it was continual reaches, and they kind of lost the value after a pretty decent start.
Yeah, and Jarwin in round 10, and Godwin. Yeah, it's just too. It's that team needs a lot of help. All right, yep. I'll do team 2. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 running backs, which isn't ideal. You've got 3 tight ends, and again, for me, taking a 3rd tight end after you invested a 6th and a 10th round pick, and it's just a pure guess in Parham at this point. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, only 6 wide receivers and 3 quarterbacks. I'm going to eliminate Reese's Puffs based on roster construction, Theo.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Should we all just do team 4 now? We'll come back with.
Yes.
So team 4, again, eliminates themselves with roster construction. They have 7 running backs, which is too many for this, especially considering, they really pushed it with the Darrell Williams pick late. I like what they did to start the draft. It's a nice zero build with Kelsey, Hopkins, Robinson, Godwin, and then it kind of got away from them with roster construction. So I'm not a huge fan of what they did.
Yeah, for me, I don't mind in a 0 RB build having that number of running backs, but I feel, taking Jamal Williams over A.J. Dillon is just a sin in a zero running back build. Tony Pollard's a good zero running back guy. Ronald Jones is a decent zero running back guy. But having Travis Etienne as your number one guy in the 5th round, we don't know what the volume's going to be. Phillips Lindsay is a good, solid zero RB guy. But Damian Williams and Darrell Williams are pure floor backup kind of guys. Give me a Tariq Cohen. Give me a James White. Give me a Darrington Evans. Give me a Naheem Hines. I want to when I do zero running back, I want to mix pass catching backs who are going to, give you those 10-point, 12-point weeks to give you enough points that the top of your wide receivers and tight ends can spark, and then mix in high upside backups who need help, like an A.J. Dillon or a Madison. So for me, Theo, on Team 4, it's a really bad zero running back team.
Yeah, and I'll add one thing is I think that
if
they would have if you're going to already go hyper fragile at in terms of a zero build, if they would have gone with DJ Moore instead of Travis Etienne, and then would have just been able to take a James Robinson or a Michael Carter, then it's a kind of a similar build, but at least they walk away knowing that they had a number of stud wide receivers. If you're going to go zero and Cortland Sutton's your wide receiver 4, I mean, that's okay, but it's not overwhelming.
And they reached for Sutton with Myles Gaskin on the board, who would have been a really good choice for that build. So I'm going to go to Team 5. They went with Darren Waller a little early, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 very good wide receivers. See, here's the opposite. Now you've got Chase Edmonds, Naheem Hines, James White, Tevin. See, I don't like the last few, but Edmonds, Hines, James White. I'm not big on Tevin Coleman, but those are 3 really good zero running backs. But they waited a little too long, and the running back tier ended. So, I get like Jarvis Landry and Mike Williams, when you've got that many wide receivers that already taken, those are lost opportunities in a zero running back build that you can never make up. And that's why you end up just with pure dart throws in Justin Jackson, Ahmed, and Perrine. So I think that team is not a bad team, but it needs more luck than it should to pay off the zero running back there.
I agree completely.
You got the next one.
Okay, so the next team, I like their quarterbacks. I don't mind where Kyler goes. They take Lamar. It's sort of automatic with Dak. Kyler gone. They went with the guy in the same tier.
What team are you doing?
Team 6.
The one that started with Zeke?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was going.
Okay. I thought you said Kyler. They took Lamar. Okay, go ahead.
So just getting to they went with the running back start. Zeke and Akers. That's not bad. They go with Pitts, Montgomery. So I like their start. I would have liked to have seen them attack wide receiver a little harder. I probably would not have gone with Tannehill in the 8th round, getting Lamar that early. Having Curtis Samuel as your wide receiver 3 is not ideal. I think there's some question marks with Russell Gage as their wide receiver 4. Structure-wise, they're a 3 tight end build. I don't hate this team, but it doesn't really do anything for me. I don't think it's a scary build. I think they needed to get a little stronger at wide receiver.
Yeah, if you take Kyle Pitts in the 3rd, you don't need to reach for Hooper in the 12th, and you certainly don't need a 3rd tight end. I mean, basically, your bet, I keep going back to, with your early picks, you're making a bet. You're making a bet when you take Kyle Pitts in the 3rd that he is an every week starter for you, right? So if there's a tight end run, you don't chase it, right? You build out the rest of your team because you're going to need Kyle Pitts to give you fantastic results here. So when you look at, like, I like what they did. Their 5 running backs are great. Tannehill, like you said, was too early, and it all led to their wide receivers being weaker than they should be. So yeah, I think we're saying a lot of the same things on that one. Next team, Kamara, Jones. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No need to take Devontae Booker as a 6th running back when you've got that much draft capital. 3 tight ends late. I like that. I don't. If you take Josh Allen, you don't need a 3rd quarterback, right? And again, and so now you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, only 6 wide receivers, including 2 in the last 2 rounds. And so you're going to need a lot of luck. I like the players that team took, but the roster construction, he's made it a lot harder on himself than he needs to.
Yeah, no, I agree on that. Getting to team 8, I really like the start of their draft. They went running back, but they walked away with 3 that I think we both really like. And I like how they got Dak. Javonte, that could have been their guy. I'm not arguing with it. I really don't mind what they did. I think that Burrow was kind of unnecessary. I think that they needed to start going wide receiver. Jared Goff was completely unnecessary. If they have their 2nd quarterback with an early Dak one, I would have not taken Goff, and I would have not taken Javian Hawkins. Those 2 picks for me should have been extra wide receivers. The team has some good things about it, but with Jalen Waddle as your wide receiver too, it's going to be hard. I don't mind doubling down on the Patriots tight ends like they did in this format, especially where they got them. They didn't really reach for either, but I do think they're a little too weak at wide receiver. And again, if you could just take out those Goff and Hawkins picks and gone with wide receivers there, or pivoted off of Javonte or Joe Burrow and taken a stronger wide receiver there, I think they would have liked their team a lot. But there's some things to like about this team. I think that they just kind of messed up with the construction at the end.
Well, I think they messed up in their construction a lot earlier.
Yeah.
But because of how good their first 3, 4 picks are, they might get lucky. But when you invest that much capital in Taylor, Mixon, and Swift, I don't care how much you like Javonte. If you're going to draft Javonte, you don't take another running back. This is a 4 running back build, right? Once I take Javonte, this is a 4 running back team. Okay, this is the time. This is when you do that fragile strategy. And they've only got, again, 6 wide receivers. The win rates on that are terrible. And when you take 6 late, you're really behind the 8 ball. Next team, Dude Platinum, who is a very smart dude. What's up, dude? Living the good life. And he got great first 2 picks. Then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 very good wide receivers. Took a shot on Taysom Hill late, which I don't hate as a 3rd quarterback, because his quarterback, he didn't put a lot of – see, this is what you do. You get Stafford and Cousins, and if you feel you need a 3rd quarterback, you do it. I do think he got caught a little bit out at running back with Tarek, Hubbard, and Gainwell as 3, 4, 5. I would have gone with a running back instead of Kmet. Simply because was Hines there? No, Hines went. I would have taken Kenyon Drake in the 11th round instead of your 3rd tight end, buddy. That's my thoughts. I respect Dude a lot. He's a good drafter, but that's my thought, Theo.
Yeah, I agree. There's some things to like there. Getting to team number 10, I think we both had some issues with this team.
Yeah, next. Thank you for contributing.
There you go.
You can do team 11.
Okay, so team 11, I like the Kittle Hawkinson combination. I don't know how common it is. but I don't mind it. Going with the 2 Browns running backs, I think is poor strategy. I know you've talked about this, Todd, but the win rates for having the 2 Browns running backs on the same team are quite low. I think that he went with 3 quarterbacks in the first 12 rounds was not ideal for me. Yeah, I'm not loving this team.
I'm going to use the phrase, this team is a subtle disaster.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot to like.
When you first look at it, but running back is so egregiously bad. And again, look, I don't mean to be offensive, but I'm trying to help people who watch this show to be better drafters, right? I put my time in to learn roster construction, to learn do's and don'ts, and hopefully that's why you listen to me. But this team is an absolute disaster at running back. Chubb and Hunt under any circumstances is a no for me. But when you only draft 4 running backs and 2 are on the same team, Trey Sermon doesn't have a starting job. We don't even know that he has a backup job. He might. And then taking your 4th running back in the 13th round, and that's it. That's all I need to see on this team. I don't know what this person was thinking. But I advise either serious medication or learning to draft. And I hate to be rude, but that's my thoughts, Theo.
Yeah, I think that's it's a rough team. I think the Kittle Hawkinson was interesting. I think if they would have gone a number of directions, they could have built something nice with that.
I agree. And then you take Jacob Harris in the 17th round.
Yeah, it's
when you've only got 4 running backs.
Yeah, it's some interesting choices. I do like
if I win $100,000 and split it with you, Theo, I think we owe this guy about $50 for maybe pay his league fee back.
I think that's a great call right there.
All right, last team is the running backs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 running backs. See, I may have he did pretty good. All right, let's look at the rest of the team. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so to me, Brady and Wentz. I get taking Watson. I don't get taking Akins. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I would have gone wide receiver there, but this team, if we lose Theo, I could see this being the team that beats us.
Yeah, I like this team. I like his strategy. Shout out to Andrew Schellenberg. Started out he was in the first main event, and he went with
that was Shelley?
That was Shelley at the Tyreek Hill, Stephon Diggs
okay.
build right there. So Shelley, shout out to Shelley. I like that.
I've partnered with him. He let me draft, and then he managed the teams, and we got 2 main events out of it for this year. So,
that's awesome.
Yeah,
that's great. I like this team, though. I think this is a very good build. And we're nitpicking the very end.
Exactly.
But, and I like what he did with the balance he has with Connor, Gordon, Drake, and Bernard. You can kind of see a path with all 4 of those guys. They're all going to be useful. I mean, if Dobbins hits like we think he can, and he gets a usage that for a player of his talent that he should get, I think this team could really make a mark. There's a lot of good value and a lot of strong wide receivers at the top, and like you said, maybe could have pivoted off of Akins and Watson, but if it hits, he's got a sneaky correlation down there as well.
And he got a gift from God getting Dobbins at 312.
Yeah, you don't see that too often.
And then I personally wouldn't have gone Andrews there. I probably would have gone either Amari or Carson. But I like Andrews a lot, so it's not a bad pick. I'm not a big Deontay guy, but he really didn't have a lot of other choices. I'm not a big Judy guy, but I really liked what he did overall too, and I think that's a pretty good team. So now we talked about everything else, so I'm going to talk about our construction, and then you can chime in. So sure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We spent a lot of capital up here on running back, but then we could have went with a 4 running back build, but we didn't. So we needed a 5th, but we got Murray, who's a backup with value as a 4th, and we got Evans, who we talked about. So, if I was looking at this team, I'd say, man, that's 5 really good running backs. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 wide receivers, 1, 2, 3 tight ends. We covered. That's where the weakness on the team was, but we covered it as best we could. And we knew when we were taking Corey Davis and Marquis Brown and Aaron Rodgers that we might have trouble somewhere else. And then we got these 2 great quarterbacks, and we didn't overpay for either of them. We got, Russ at 7-3. Let's look at Russ's last 5 days. Where is he? Is 6'10", 6'11". So a 5-pick value on him.
I mean, we got value on a number of these guys.
And then Aaron Rodgers, that's about where Aaron Rodgers goes at 10-2. We got him at the end of the 10th round. So, this is one of my favorite teams, Theo. And when you go through the draft board and you see what everyone else did with their opportunities, it becomes a lot more apparent why we have a team that we like this much.
Yeah, I mean, value came to us when others made mistakes. We pounced on it, and I think that I love what we did with Debo and Antonio, 2 guys we were really high on, to get them as our wide receiver 3 and wide receiver 4, and then follow up with Hollywood as the wide receiver 5. I mean, that's really strong. Davis was somewhat of a luxury for us, but we're both high on his potential. So I mean, we're very strong at wide receiver, tight end wise, like you said. I love Noah Fant this year. You're overweight on him this year, but I think he could have a smash year. And running back wise, we get the big dog and Edwards-Helaire, and then Sanders, where we got him, was just fantastic value. So I like this team a lot. I think this team could be one to reckon with. We don't have any correlation with Russ. It would have been nice to get Everett, but we weren't going to reach for him. But yeah, I like the way this team turned out. And like you said, the Murray-Evans combo is just perfect because you have, a potential, league winner type in Murray if Kamara goes down. And also, I think Murray's an interesting player. If it is Taysom Hill, I think Murray could have a little bit larger role if they go a little bit more run heavy. And Evans, we're both very high on him, and some very sharp people are on Evans. So I think this team has some a lot of solid floors and also some very high ceilings. So this team could be one to reckon with.
Yeah, think I don't know. You're probably too young to remember. They used to talk about the amoeba defense.
Oh, and I know all about that, Jerry Tarkanian.
Yeah, and it would flow to where it needed to flow, and I feel like drafting is a lot like that. It's an art form. So we knew when we took Aaron Rodgers, that's a little extra value in running in quarterback than ideally you need, right? We could have waited, but he was such a value. And the same thing with Marquis Brown. And we wanted to tighten up the weak spot of this team, but there was a run with Hooper and Cook and Henry, and it didn't make it back to us. So we didn't reach for Hurst and Arnold. We took Corey Davis, and then Hurst and Arnold, the next 2 guys on our board, we got around where they should be going. So that to me is the amoeba. There's the ideal construction, but as a draft flows, sometimes you get knocked out of ideal. But how do you, what do you get for getting knocked out of ideal? And how do you flow back to make up the weaknesses best you can is what separates a really good drafter from an average drafter and definitely a bad drafter, Theo.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great way of putting it. And, you never feel good about your team builds when you have to reach just to hop in that run. Very rarely do you say that, that really made my draft to take this guy, above ADP and really push it. And, we almost took Brown instead of Rodgers. Taking Rodgers there was the right move. And it just kind of, it all came to us. And it was really running pure when Hurst and Evans and Arnold all fell to where we needed them to. That was really the icing on the cake for me with this team build. So yeah, I'm thrilled with this team. This was great.
Last thing I'll say is we also could do that because we did have Noah Fant at tight end, right? And, I almost jumped off the Noah Fant bandwagon here because I wanted Russ and 30% is getting about as much as I want on a guy, but that's how you work with a partner. Theo wanted it. If this was my first draft of the year, Fant would have been a no-brainer. Just take him. But that gives you an idea of how to mix in exposure, how to work with a partner. And because we had Fant, the fact that Hurst and Arnold are a second and third tight end hopefully won't come back to hurt us.
Yeah, no, I think you put it the right way. And also you kind of, when you take Fant, it forced the issue, and Thomas and Higbee go right away. So it does a number of things. It also makes somebody reach for Troutman. So I think it was a great pick. And I think that you're overweight on the right guy, Todd. I think that it's really going to pay off for you to have this much Noah Fant. I really do.
Anyone who's watching knows that I'm overweight, Theo, but thank you. Overweight on Fant.
On Fant.
Yeah. All right, so why don't you tell everyone where they can find you? You're obviously a very experienced drafter, good dude. Why don't you tell people everything that you're working on and what's coming up with you?
So you can find me on Twitter at the OG Fantasy. I'm posting most of the boards that I'm drafting in NFFC and in FFPC. I'm splitting a few teams, and I'm also doing my own. You can find my writing at Player Profiler and BreakoutFinder.com. I'm doing the waiver wire column on Player Profiler this year. And then you can find me every week in the GOAT District. We've had a number of great guests. Todd is coming on in August. We have some great guests in July. We had some really good ones in June. Check it out. A lot of very sharp drafters like Todd. We've had them come on, and we have a couple more. And we also have some very good analysts. So we have a really nice balance in the GOAT District.
Big fans of the GOAT District. Dan, cut his teeth podcasting with me, has gone on to bigger and better things. But I couldn't hold Dan in higher regard. And JD actually absolutely crushed it on the Hardway draft when he helped us out with that, Theo.
Great.
I really, really am glad we got to do this, man. And I have a feeling it's not going to be our last draft together.
Yeah, I hope not. I think this was a nice partnership, and I think we could win some money as well.
All right, that's going to do it. I want to thank our friends from the FFPC one last time. I just love this tournament. And, go to myffpc.com, sign up, and get in there, man. Only 4,500 entries in this tournament. That's the other thing that I didn't talk about. I am going to be doing some Billy and I are turning up our live drafting. We've come up with a new name. We are the Gunslingers, and the Gunslingers are going to be putting out some podcasts. So you guys can look for that. It won't be Billy's current podcast. It won't be Run to Daylight. We are going to be creating, it looks like, a third podcast called The Gunslingers. I love that name for drafting, and we'll see what happens. So thanks, guys. Always appreciate you being part of our team. Have a good day.